Turn around. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Victoria, obviously. I'm a member of the Unitarian Universalist of Transylvania County in Brevard, North Carolina, which is very close to Asheville. And so I'm from the mountains, but I used to live here. Many years ago, my parents owned the old red and white on Atlantic Beach Causeway, so they were here for many years. And I'm just happy to be here, happy to find a Unitarian church.
Good morning. My name is Heather Henderson, and we're visiting with my sister and brother-in-law and nephews. And this is Debbie Hill, my mother.
Thank you. Welcome to everybody.
And I would like to invite Barb Thomas, our social justice co-chair amongst being the AV Tech Connection chair, and she has some announcements for us.
Good morning. Okay. First announcement, Reverend Micah is on vacation until August. They will attend General Assembly this week in Pittsburgh. They have been attending. And then after that, we'll be in California to spend some time with friends and family. And today, we invite everyone to a pop-up picnic right after the service at the Rotary Park here in Morehead City. Everyone is welcome. Whether or not you brought something to share, please come and join. And we now invite everyone in the sanctuary to please silence their cell phones and all those on Zoom to turn off their cameras to preserve bandwidth. Thank you.
And now, if you could, please everyone turn in and say hi to your neighbor. Come into this place with your whole self. The parts that are raw and exposed, the part that is beaming with joy, the part that is seeking the truth, the new, the possibility. Come into this place, open your heart, lay down your burden, lift up your hope for something new to happen. Come into this place with fellow travelers on the journey, some faces new and others familiar, and all welcoming you here. Now, to this moment. Come, let us worship together. I invite Holly up to help me light the chalice.
Okay, can you hear me? A little bit higher? Okay. How often we seek refuge in this sacred flame from the world's trouble and pain. Today may our lamp light the way for those who know no refuge, that we may open our minds, our arms, our hearts, our mouths to sing. Come, whoever you are, wholly new and wholly true.
And we're going to light the peace candle. We also light our peace candle to remind ourselves that peace is a process that requires work, that peace is not merely an absence of conflict, but the presence of justice. And I invite everyone to rise as you're willing and able for our opening hymn, number 42 in the great hymnal, Morning, So Fair to See.
Morning so fair to see, night veiled in mystery, glorious the earth and resplendent skies. Pilgrims we march along, singing our joyous song as though an earthly paradise. Tall as the verdant trees, deep are the flashing seas, glorious each wonder the seasons bring. Still near our face surmise, shining in pilgrim eyes, where our waking spirit rise. Age after age we rise, 'neath the eternal skies, into the light from the shadowed past. Still shall our pilgrim song, buoyant and brave and strong, resound while life and mountains last.
As we enter the sacred space of joys and concerns, let us renew both our commitment and our covenant. There are those among us who have endured a loss in the past week. May their hope be uplifted again in this community of faith. There are those among us who have struggled with hardship in the past week. May they find renewed strength in this community of faith. There are those among us who have wrestled with questions that seem to have no answer in the past week. May they find sanctuary during their search in this community of faith. There are those among us who have cherished an unexpected joy in the past week. May their rejoicing be celebrated in this community of faith. As we commit to continue our free and responsible search for truth, may we covenant to honor the many paths that have led us to this community of faith. I invite you to our stones and water ritual. We line up over here along the wall and select stones or shells to represent our joys and concerns from the basket here, and then gently place them in the chalice of water. Should you wish to share a personal joy or concern, please complete it on the piece of paper over there, and I will read it out loud to the congregation. And then I will also read community joys and concerns that I already have after we do our ritual. So I invite you to come on up. I place a stone in the beginning of the gay rights movement. On this last Sunday in Pride Month, we remember and thank the participants in the Stonewall Uprising on June 28, 1969, in Greenwich Village. When the police raided the Stonewall Inn, they fought back and protested for days. This uprising served as a catalyst for the gay rights movement in the U.S. and around the world. And Helene shares that Stormy Burchett lost her Aunt Margaret, and she's very sad about her loss. The funeral is today, and she will be live streaming it at home. But Stormy wished she could be here with us, and we give her our thoughts. So please join me in singing the children out with the blessings song. It's a blessing you were born, and it matters what you do, what you know about God. It's a peace of the truth, and the beauty of all. Be what you do, and you don't have to do it alone. It's a blessing you was born, and it matters what I do, what I know about God. It's a peace of the truth, and the beauty of all. It's a blessing we were born, and it matters what we do. What we know about God is a piece of the truth, but the beauty we love. Be what we do, and we don't have to do it alone. Holy Spirit of life and love, you who are our source and our ultimate destiny, lead us this day on a crooked path. So often we are in so much of a hurry, taking the direct route to our goal, not allowing ourselves to be distracted, sometimes being too direct with one another, and all that we seek to do, to be, and to have. But we can see that no river takes a direct path to the sea. Your trees and bushes sprout crooked limbs, and birds, beasts, and insects meander in their search for food, shelter, or mate. We lose so much when we take the direct route, the interstate which bypasses the quaint township, the arrow that misses the mark, the chance to stop and say hello and how are you, and really listen to the reply. So lead us on the crooked path, past wandering streams and crooked trees, following our heart's desire, not just duty's demands, for the crooked path also leads us home. Please enjoy this moment of silence.
Our reading today is titled Asking for Refuge by Reverend Matthew Johnson. In 8th grade, we were assigned a project to make a poster about some part of our ancestry. I made mine about the story of the 1930 migration from Germany to the United States of my great-grandmother, her husband, and their 3 children. My great-grandmother, Emma Johanna Jacoba Cranenberg Meal, her husband Carl, and their children Ermelyn, Fritz, and Ingrid, sailed for New York and made their way by train to Washington State. Karl had fought in the First World War for the Kaiser and saw the signs coming. He knew that by 1930 that another war was coming. So they sold a house in the vineyard and left Europe behind. For my 8th grade poster, I assembled family pictures of New York in 1930, a map of the route, and a photo of the ship they sailed on, the MS St. Louis. I quote you an official version of the story. On May 13th, 1939, the German transatlantic liner St. Louis sailed from Hamburg, Germany, for Havana, Cuba. On the voyage were 937 passengers. Almost all were Jews fleeing from the Third Reich. Most were German citizens, some were Eastern European, and a few were officially stateless. The majority of the Jewish passengers had applied for U.S. visas and had planned to stay in Cuba only until they could enter the United States. The drama of the arrival in Cuba was complicated. Most of them were denied entry. Negotiations to secure their entry were unsuccessful. The new Cuban president had supported Franco, who had been supported by Hitler, and he wanted a bribe the refugees were unable to pay. Again, the official account, hostility toward immigrants fueled both anti-Semitism and xenophobia. Both agents of Nazi Germany and indigenous right-wing movements hyped the immigrant issue in their publications and demonstrations, claiming that incoming Jews were communists. Reports about the impending voyage fueled a large anti-Semitic demonstration in Havana on May 8th, 5 days before the St. Louis sailed from Hamburg. The rally, the largest anti-Semitic demonstration in Cuban history, had been sponsored by Gras San Martin, a former Cuban president. Gras spokesperson Primitivo Rodriguez urged Cubans to fight the Jews until the last one is driven out. A few passengers were accepted, but 743 were not. They went north, sailing so close to Florida that they could see the lights of Miami. Some passengers on the St. Louis cabled President Franklin D. Roosevelt asking for refuge. Roosevelt never replied. The State Department and the White House had decided not to take extraordinary measures to permit the refugees to enter the United States. Public opinion in the United States, although ostensibly sympathetic to the plight of refugees and critical of Hitler's policies, continued to favor immigration restrictions. Roosevelt was not alone in his reluctance to challenge the mood of the nation on the immigration issue. 3 months before the St. Louis sailed, congressional leaders in both houses allowed to die in committee a bill that would have admitted 20,000 Jewish children from Germany above the existing quota. The ship was turned away. The official account from the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum concludes as follows. Following the U.S. government's refusal to permit the passengers to disembark, the St. Louis sailed back to Europe disembark the St. Louis sailed back to Europe on June 6, 1939. Jewish organizations negotiated with 4 European governments to secure entry visas for the passengers. Great Britain took 288. The Netherlands admitted 181. Belgium took 214. And 224 found at least temporary refuge in France. Of the 288 passengers admitted by Great Britain, all survived World War II, save one, who was killed during an air raid in 1940. Of the 620 passengers who returned to the continent, 87 managed to emigrate before the German invasion of Western Europe in May 1940. 532 St. Louis passengers were trapped when Germany conquered West Europe. Just over half, 278 survived. The rest, 254 souls, were murdered. Every time I read this account, I weep. I weep because my family got on the boat and got off, took the train. So I live. Every time I read this account, I weep. I don't know what else to say. I want to take every politician and pundit, everyone whose heart has shrunk 2 sizes too small, and sit down at a table together, a kitchen table perhaps, where we sing with joy and with sorrow. We pray of suffering and remorse. We give thanks. A kitchen table, and we can pray, give thanks, and recall our ancestors. I'll read the account of the St. Louis and its passengers, and I'll read it again. And I'll read it again. And I'll read it again until their hearts are opened and their conscience awakes.
Thank you, Holly. Today, we know there are many refugees, millions of people seeking refuge in today's modern political situations. Their journeys are lengthy, and like we heard in the past couple of weeks, sometimes they do not reach their destination. There's no guarantee that they'll reach it. While we often think of a journey as being something long and sometimes arduous, the original meaning of the word was limited to a day's work or a day's travel. But we all know there are different kinds of journeys, and perhaps in any journey we should value time more and hold each day precious. Recently, Tom and I took a kind of a journey. It was a trip, a vacation. It was a dream of a lifetime. We went to see the sights in Alaska and meet the people and see the flora and experience the fauna, though not too close. I didn't get close to a moose. It was really wow, and it was truly awesome. So it was a trip. It was wonderful. It was a journey. And maybe you've been on a different kind of journey, like maybe an educational journey, like maybe you keep going to school. And sometimes it takes years and years to get there, either your educational and or your vocational journey. And I was thinking about my son, who's completed much of his journey, but I'm not certain he's arrived, nor do I think he wants to get there. All of his sisters say, I wish I could be Andy. And then there's also the raising children journeys. That's personally the most exhausting one I've ever been on, and I'm still on it. We also go on caring for loved ones in sickness and health journeys, and journeying with our parents as they age and depart. And then there's journeys like taking on responsibilities like finishing a senior project, finishing your thesis, starting and implementing and finishing a new program at work, like writing grants, or creating UCF worship services. That's a journey. So think about the journeys you've been taking, and one of them might be a spiritual journey. The spiritual journey is individualized, it's highly personal, it can't be organized, it can't be regulated. It isn't true that everyone should follow one path. Listen to your own truth. I want to share a story titled The Trip of a Lifetime, and it's by Crystal, and it's from the Touchstones resource we use. So these are her words. I think there are 3 kinds of people in life. There are the dwellers, the tourists, and the pilgrims. And the dwellers are those who are content to stay home, happy to dwell on days past, letting life happen to them, but not actively participating in the process. The tourists are those who focus on the goal, who will only be content when they reach a preconceived destination, but who miss many exciting opportunities to change course or at least incorporate new ideas along the way. And then there are the pilgrims. Dictionary.com defines a pilgrim in many ways, but one definition is a traveler or wanderer, especially in a foreign place. The concept of being on a pilgrimage usually conveys the idea that you are on a journey toward a destination. The emphasis is on the journey. Being a tourist is all about reaching the destination. It's about what happens after you get there. And personally, I feel the journey can be just as fun, just as exciting and interesting as the destination, and sometimes more so. Crystal goes on to say, my spiritual pilgrimage, my life story, has been all about the journey. I believe I am in good company. There are many notable individuals that have told stories about journeys. Consider Homer's epic poem, The Odyssey. Now that was the ultimate road trip. Talk about adventures. Odysseus had more than enough adventures for one man. His destination was home, and he spent many years imprisoned by Calypso, and was finally journeying back to his loved ones. So the story is about what happens to him, who he meets, and what adventures he falls into. I like to think of my life story that way. I'm on an odyssey, making my way home, wherever that may be, seeking my final destination, but meeting interesting people and having adventures along the way. I like to think of myself as a pilgrim journeying through my life, seeking a sacred place within myself, a place related to my idea of spirituality. For me, spirituality is internal, an inner path to peace, understanding, and truth. Elizabeth Lesser distinguishes between what she calls old spirituality and new spirituality. She says that old spirituality involves believing the church has ultimate authority, that they should dictate how you worship, how you behave, what the one path to God looks like, that truth is like a rock, never changing, and perceived the same by all. But new spirituality looks much different. You are your best authority, finding yourself how to live a spiritual life. Your deeper longings are your compass on life's journey. The truth is like the horizon, ahead of you, forever changing its shape and color. You can let your spiritual path change and diverge as you journey toward it. Towards those with whom we share this life, our fellow travelers in the journey, we must demonstrate honor, integrity, tolerance, and acceptance. And without regard for diversity, where diversity in culture, opinion, sexual orientation, race, or any other characteristic, without appreciation for our differences, our spirit will wither. And for the beauty in the world around us, we should feel wonder and awe. Without respect for the interconnectedness of the world, without reverence for the mystery of life, our spirit will weaken. We must also find that which brings us joy, whether it is in person, place, or thing, and experience it with passion and share it with others. If we don't find happiness, if we don't love and delight in that feeling, our spirit will not grow. And to have all of these qualities, we must be open to learning new things. For it is by not using our mind that our spirit becomes more fragile. Crystal concludes with this. I have a saying, I don't get lost. I just keep driving until something looks familiar. I think my spiritual journey is like that. I just keep going until it seems familiar. I just haven't reached my destination yet. And I have definitely met some interesting people and had some exciting adventures along the way. May your journey be interesting, adventurous, and long-lasting. May it be so. And now, please stand if you're willing and able and join us in singing hymn number 53, I Walk the Unfrequented Road, and we're going to sing verses 1, 2, and 5.
Verses 1, 2, and 5. Okay. I walk the unfrequented road with open eye and ear. I watch a field, a farmer load the bounty of the year. I filch the fruit of no one's toil, no trespasser am I, and yet I reap from every soil, bread from the boundless sky. I face the hills, the streams, the wood, and feel with all akin. My heart expands their fortitude, and peace and joy flow in.
Every day we are on a journey, learning how to build this beloved community. Sorry. Can you hear me? Okay. Sorry. Every day we are on a journey, learning how to build this beloved community and build a world where everyone can thrive. Every dollar that you give helps to enrich this congregation by caring for the building, paying our minister and staff, putting on programming, and supporting our coming together. I invite the ushers forward to collect today's offering.
Please join us in blessing this offering with hymn number 402, From You I Receive, and we'll sing it twice.
Together we share, and
Please join me in reading the words on the screen behind me as we extinguish our flame. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now in Español. Extinguimos esta llama, pero da la luz de la verdad, el calor de comunidad o el fuego nuestro compromiso. Estos los liberamos en el corazón hasta que estemos juntos otra vez. We now invite all to rise as they're willing and able for our closing hymn, number 295, Sing Our Praises for the Journey.
You get there, we'll come in. Sing out praises for the journey, pilgrims we who carry on, searchers in the soul's deep yearnings, like our forebears in their time. We seek out the Spirit's wholeness in the endless human quest. Look inside your souls, the kindling of the heart our pilgrims do. Find the Spirit always restless, find it in each mind and heart. Touch and hold that ancient yearning, kindling for a new-found truth. Stand we now upon the threshold, facing futures yet unknown. Hearth behind us, wayside hostel, built by those who knew wild roads. God, we ere their sacred embers, carried in our minds and truths.
So now's the time when we all get to hold hands if that's okay with you, or bump elbows, and we're going to have our benediction. I think last time we got in a complete circle somehow. Yeah. I want to remind everybody there's a potluck today at Rotary Park and please join us if you don't know how to get there. There are a lot of people here who can tell you how to get there. And there's plenty of food, even if you forgot to bring something, that's fine. And so I close with these words. In every journey comes a moment like no other. And in that moment, you must decide between who you are and who you want to be. May you journey in peace and return in love. Oh, I think that the Finance Committee may have made coffee, if you're interested. Yeah. Oh, okay. So if you want